Hey everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Hi-Qel's Pop Talk. I'm your host, Daniel,
And I'm Alan.
and today we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things. We're going to be talking about PlayStation Studios' recent acquisition with Housemarque. We're going to be talking about GTA 6, Dying Light 2,
A
the
lot of Star Wars.
yeah, a lot of Star Wars, so get ready for that. And a couple of other small things in the movie space, including a discussion about Bo Burnham's Inside, which we watched yesterday. So we're going
Last
to be
night.
discussing, yeah, last night. And we'll also be talking a little bit about anime, but it probably won't be the forefront of our discussion. It'll be part of the podcast, but it won't be a big part. Um, but yeah, Alan, how you doing, dude?
Doing great, man. I got a call earlier this week that was very exciting for me
Mm-hmm.
about starting a new job,
Nice.
and so I'm about to start having increased funds rolling in,
Yeah.
so that me and Mary aren't just paying bills. We can move on and save up for a vacation, or
Yeah.
save up to add on to the house, or just whatever.
Yeah.
um
Most definitely.
and so that's going to be fun. I'll be able to do like a lot more stuff, um be able to afford more games whenever they're coming out on market.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully be able to get the PS5, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's not even like a money thing as at this point.
It's
It's like
well,
a if you can find one.
see, and I really am kicking myself because I had the chance to grab a PS5, but I didn't have the money at the time,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
feel that.
uh, and so now I'm going to always have the money.
Yeah. I definitely feel that. Um, and yeah, like I said, I mean, as long as you stay on top of it, and like, there's a couple guys on Twitter, Wario64 and Jake
Oh yeah, yeah.
Randall, I
I
believe.
follow. I follow Wario.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely keep an eye on those two. For anybody listening, definitely keep an eye out on those two guys on Twitter. They usually have drops every day. They'll usually give notifications on drops, and I know a lot of people have been getting them from those guys. So, like, definitely keep an eye on those. Have you been playing anything recently?
Yeah. Yeah. This week I finished the Sea of Thieves update, and that one was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my own personal theory, I think that they are going to add another chapter, or possibly more Pirates of the Caribbean themed tall tales in the future.
Yeah, I could
Because
definitely
the
see that.
the way that they left it open is it leaves it open for new content. And spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played the Tall Tales or wants to play the Tall Tales, but at the end, you go through basically the movie Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, where he's fighting Davy Jones, right? And he goes through, and you're trying to take this legendary treasure that gives Davy Jones basically god powers, right? Which is going to transform him into the ruler of the dead in this land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you defeat him, and Jack and his crew reunite, and Gibbs reminds him, he's like, yeah, remember we have this other thing to tend to right now. And he's like, yes, we're going to go tend to this thing, and then we'll be back. And
Mm.
I was like, oh, so they're coming. They're going to come out with more tall tales for this. And I kind of hope that, like, a part of me wants them to do like the next movies, but a part of me is like, hey, just make up a completely original story.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
try to coast off the movies. Maybe make up a new character or new villains or whatever, right?
yeah,
Um, but it was a fun experience. I've got to say, it's a very fun playthrough.
yeah.
You unlock a sea shanty that is from the Disneyland parks. That Yo Ho Yo Ho, the Pirate's Life for me.
Oh
So
yeah.
you unlock that as a shanty that you can play.
Oh, that's tight. That's tight. I like that. Oh man, it sounds like a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it, dude. We we haven't really been doing much else except for Sea of Thieves and a little Siege. What about
Yeah,
you, man? What's been your weekly vibe this week?
man. Well, when I found the time, I've still been on that Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I want to say that I'm getting close to about halfway. As a matter of fact, that's what I was doing before we started.
Yeah,
um, but man, yeah, I just that game, like those games, just still hold up to this day, and they are still a blast to play. They're oh my god, yeah, they're really really good games. So I definitely recommend like picking them up. But I have heard a lot about the Sea of Thieves expansion, and a lot of people seem to be it seems to have gotten like a pretty big like positive reception. And as a matter of fact, I think it was like it topped the Steam charts, I
yeah,
believe,
yeah.
because of it. So it's really cool to hear
Um,
about that.
the only thing that I hate though is they kind of did it like a few years too late.
Yeah.
I remember being on spring break in like 2017 or
Mm-hmm.
2018, and one of my fraternity brothers at the time was playing the game while we were on our spring break trip, and we were just like hanging out back at the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was playing it, and my first initial thought was like, okay, can you dress up like Jack Sparrow?
Mm-hmm.
Can you make yourself look like anything from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that's immediately what I think of whenever I'm playing that. And it's really funny when we bought the game and started getting into it on PC. We were really corny, and we would bring up Rhythm Bot and play Pirates of the Caribbean music on
Yeah.
Rhythm while we were playing it. And then they announced this update, and so you can imagine how hyped me and my friends were.
Oh yeah.
But let
Most
me ask you a
definitely.
question about Mass Effect real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've been reading a lot of articles, and I saw a lot of the controversy when it came out.
Bro, I know what you're
Andromeda
about to. Oh, Andromeda.
and Andromeda, yeah. Andromeda was not a lackluster game. It just came out with a bunch of game-breaking bugs, and seeing as the gaming community is how the gaming community is, and I talked about this a little bit in the last podcast, but like they don't give games second chances. They take a game for face value, and if it's shit when it released, then that is just a shit game. No matter if it gets an update to make it better, to make the content better, to fix all the bugs, to make it playable, whatever, it's constantly labeled a bad game. If you do not believe me and you're listening right now, look at Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2 came out with all those microtransactions, and everybody still thinks that that game is bad because of that, and it's not been in the game for what, effectively like 3 years.
Yeah.
So like, and same thing with Cyberpunk. I feel so horrible for the people of Cyberpunk that they've worked 8+ years on Cyberpunk. I think it actually might have been double digits.
Nah,
But
it was more. It was honestly a lot less than that because technically they
was it?
didn't start. Yeah, technically they didn't start working on it until after The Witcher 3 was done, which released in 2015, if I believe. So really, it was
I know it released.
2015.
I know it released soon after the PlayStation 4 dropped, and so it was somewhere around there. Um, but anyways, for these people to have been, working solely on that game, it's kind of sad to see. It's sad to see it like come in to the limelight and then die so quickly when these people have spent like if it was 2015, like the last 5 or 6 years working on that game solely, and like you know their parent company was rushing them to get it out to make that
Yeah,
money. And
yeah,
so, and a lot of people are blaming CD Projekt Red for that, and it's not CD Projekt Red. It's their parent company that
yeah,
forced them to push that out there
yeah,
so so soon. And it's unfortunate that it did so poorly, because now everybody's going to coast off of, oh well, it's just a buggy piece of shit, and that's all it'll be known as. And I hate that for those people.
yeah. It's definitely unfortunate the struggle between publisher and developer. But you know
Yeah.
what isn't unfortunate is the segue into our first topic, which is speaking of
Segues are
publishers.
weird.
and developers, Housemarque just joined PlayStation Studios. It was announced earlier this week that they had officially joined PlayStation Studios, which makes a lot of sense. Honestly, this wasn't really a surprise considering Housemarque. I'm not that familiar with them, but I know they have worked with Sony for a number of years. So the
Right.
fact that they're finally joining them makes a lot of sense, and especially with Returnal being an exclusive, and I believe their last game was a PlayStation exclusive, so they're already planting the seeds. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Returnal was a exclusive. That game, man, I watched a lot of stuff on it when it came out because, like I said, oh, sorry, um, like I said a minute ago, uh, whenever that came out, like I obviously don't have the PS5, but when that came out, I watched a lot of gameplay on it because I'm just huge into roguelikes. I love roguelikes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
around that time when that came out, I was playing Risk of Rain 2, and so I was all about some roguelikes. And um,
I didn't know Risk of Rain was a roguelike.
yeah. You do so like the way that that works is there's like 10 characters to unlock, and you do more and more consecutive runs to unlock each of the characters and unlock more and more of the like secret areas and
Mm-hmm.
such. Because like we were constantly discovering new areas and bosses in that game,
Mm-hmm.
and so pretty fun. The runs are super hard too.
Hmm.
Um, but the big thing that I saw about Returnal, speaking of runs, is that the game is just a little too long for it to be a roguelike. And what I mean by
Hmm.
that is that it would take people upwards of 2.5 to 3 hours to complete a run, when in all actuality, you want to keep it to about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, so that like somebody's not having to set aside a whole day to play your game.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that was a really big thing. It was like the long runs that mixed with some of like the glitches and well, not necessarily the glitches, but I know there was like there isn't, from what I understand, like or there wasn't a proper saving system or anything like that. So if you died with in a really long run, then you're pretty much screwed. Like
Yeah,
it set you back, like you said, 2 or 3 hours, which a lot of people were like, "What?" And like the only way you could really do it is to put your PlayStation in a rest mode, which still
yeah.
hasn't been that reliable. Honestly, I haven't had any issues putting my PlayStation into rest mode, but um, I know that was like a kind of like a point of contention for a lot of people because they're like, why would you? It's like I had to kind of like go about it in this backwater way just for me to like save my progress, so to speak. And
Right.
there's not like a reliable like checkpoint system or like a
Yeah.
save system or anything like that. So,
If they were
yeah,
going, I think honestly, in my opinion, if they were going to make a roguelike, that they either needed to add a checkpoint
yeah,
system, like you just said, or they needed to make the run shorter. And
yeah, yeah,
I understand that Returnal tells a lot of story about the main character, and there's a lot of development there.
yeah. A lot
But
of lore.
but the problem with that is like if I'm doing multiple runs of this game, just put that into the next run. Don't make it like a 2 hour or 3 hour long run. Just put the next big story stuff into the next run. Like, come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does sound like you have to kind of go out of your way to find the house or whatever. I think that's where you get like your story beats or whatever. Like
Right.
from what I've seen, the story beats are kind of like placed throughout the game kind of sparsely, and you almost have to like go out of your way to look while you're going through your runs to look for those story beats, which are pretty interesting from what I've seen. But yeah, like I think it would make sense to just put it there, like either put it at the start of like a new run or like give you a beat every time you get to like a new section. That way you don't have to go and search for it in case you end up having a crappy run and you die and you get you get
Right.
set back or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like they, for the most part, have fixed most of the issues, I think.
And and I've got to say, man, looking at the game, it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the graphics are really good. The
Makes you
overall
forget that it's
surround,
running at 1080p.
yeah, all of the surrounding graphics, like the particle effects and stuff like that, they are all just really fucking good. And then on top of that, uh, the overall like world that they've built, like just everything that they did with that graphics wise was the right decision. Like it's such a beautiful game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and you know, I really want to play it, but again, we're at that that struggle of not having a PS5 yet.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. What do you think now that they're officially with PlayStation? What do you think their future game is gonna be like? What do you think now that they have the full backing of Sony? Or I guess Sony slash PlayStation. How do you think that will affect their future game development?
I, I honestly like my views about Bethesda and Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this company is going to, excuse me, it's going to get so much better because if they didn't necessarily have great funding before
Mm-hmm.
and they came out with these games like Matterfall and Returnal that were both really good and graphically pretty games,
Yeah.
um, could you imagine what they would do with Sony's money?
Oh
Like if
yeah.
PlayStation goes, here's a handful of cash, go make your next game, and you know, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then they make it, it does really well, and then Sony's like, yeah, keep making them, keep
Yeah.
coming with them,
Yeah.
and obviously they'll hit a miss, once in a while. You're not going to make perfect games forever.
Yeah.
Um, but
Unless you're Nintendo. Just kidding.
right.
Just kidding. I mean, they've definitely had flops. Let's be honest.
But yeah, so we I'm pretty excited to see what happens next with Housemarque and Sony. I'm excited to see if they are going to do more roguelikes, if they're going to stick to that genre, or if they're going to go for
Yeah.
like an action adventure genre. Because like with all the story and lore that they're trying to pack into Returnal, I feel like that game really should have just been like a single player story based game.
I mean, it is for the. I mean,
But
there's
but
no.
but like but not like roguelike is what I mean.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
realized that I said that and then I realized how stupid I sounded.
No. No. It's cool.
um, but yeah, I think that should have been more along the lines of maybe like a 30 to 60 hour game.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder because technically this was a big step up for them. It was kind of their first foray into a AAA like experience. Like compared to some of their other stuff, like they really put in a lot of like production value into this game. So I mean I would imagine that their next one is probably gonna up the ante and really because they've shown that they can do they can deliver these AAA experiences when before they were kind of a little bit more smaller. So I definitely think that Returnal is probably going to set the trend for them in the future. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what they come up with. I still have yet to play Return. I don't even know when I'm gonna freaking play that game. To be honest, I'm going back and forth between my backlog on Steam, Game Pass, and like all these free to play games. Like yeah, I don't even know. I'll be honest. I really haven't been playing my PlayStation as much. Um,
No, I feel.
but I'm waiting for like Ratchet and Clank was cool, but I guess I'm waiting for Spider-Man. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is GTA 6. Oh man,
So,
this game,
man,
this game ain't never gonna come out at the rate it's going.
so, and let me touch on that a little bit. I kind of want them to not work on it right now.
Really?
Yes,
Huh.
because I am a Red Dead Redemption fan and have been ever since those games started coming out.
Yeah.
I played the very first Red Dead game whenever I was a kid. It was called Red Dead Revolver, and it was out for PS2 and the original Xbox. And I used to play that all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
then Red Dead Redemption 1 came out on PS3 and loved that game. Got into the online, and that's where every single person that you met at my wedding, that's just about where all of them came from, was Red Dead Redemption Online.
Yeah. 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 I'll be honest. Haven't even played. I haven't played any of the Red Dead games.
They're they're really fun, but it's set uh and they're really gruesome too, since it's set during like the old western times. So there's a
Yeah,
lot of
boy.
there's a lot of dismemberment and shit like that in them.
Oh, yeah. Because
It's a lot more gruesome than GTA is.
really, that's
Yes.
surprising. Actually, I wouldn't have thought about that. Um,
And so like I really don't
Jinx.
want them to work. Yeah, I really don't want them to work on GTA 6 too much, mainly because Red Dead Redemption 2 has its online mode, and like I said, just about every person that was at my wedding, I met them on Red Dead Online. And so like we're all wanting that to be better. We want that to take off like it did when we were kids. And they could do that by adding settlements in there, adding, a way to like grow up, have a ranch and like
Wait, you
farm
said
and stuff like.
settlements? I thought you didn't
Yeah.
like settlements.
Well, in Fallout, I don't like settlements.
Yeah.
But like if they added like places like on GTA, how you have the apartments and you have
Yeah. Yeah.
the condos and stuff, or the trailers that you can get.
Mhm.
I want them to add stuff like that, but like it be little farm houses for people,
Yeah.
and it be like a thing where I can get on there, tend to my farm, and then go to my moonshine place and go sell my moonshine, and then go rob a bank or a train with my heist buddies. And like that's just everything that they need to add, and they're just effectively doing nothing with the
Yeah.
game. The
Yeah.
game hasn't been updated in over like 2 years, and it just got a very small update where you can rob each other's camps, which is their like temporary give of a homestead, right?
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so I as excited as I am for GTA 6, and as much as I want to know more about it, I want them to do more with Red Dead first.
That makes
Um,
sense. That makes sense because
ma-
it does seem like they've kind of left it on the back burner considering the
GTA 5's been going for 3 fucking consoles. Yeah.
yes. And I mean, if I guess if you look at it from like a business sense, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make a new game when you're. I mean,
Current
GTA
games.
5 has sold so many. Like, it continues to sell. Like, they're coming out with the freaking PS5 and Xbox Series X and S versions this year. And, I mean, the amount of money. Dude, the amount of money that GTA Online has made is astronomical. Like there's so much money that they've made from GTA Online. So in a way, it really, from a business standpoint, it's like, oh, well, why would we spend money making a new one when we're making all this money from the last one? Um,
And they're still selling like hundreds and thousands of dollars of fucking shark
Shark
cards,
cards,
dude.
yeah, the shark,
Dude,
which is,
shark
oh,
cards are
dude,
making so much money because little Jimmy's going in there to his poor old grandma's purse,
Little Jim-
stealing her credit card, and he's getting $50 million of GTA cash.
yeah,
It's
GTA
ridiculous,
kids,
man.
yeah. Well, the rumor, or actually, there's a couple rumors, but the big one that came out, I actually didn't put this in the topic list, but the big revelation this week was that it's GTA 6 supposedly won't come out until like 2025,
Yeah,
which is a long time, a lot longer than I think a lot of people were expecting. The good
a
news
lot.
is it might be set in a modern version of Vice City, which a lot
I
of
saw
people
that.
really are big fans of. But I think the money that if GTA Online wasn't making so much money, I think we would see Grand Theft Auto 6 be released a lot sooner. And I think they've definitely rested on their laurels in a sense with GTA 5, I feel, just because of its success. So I think that, and just the amount of money that they're making, is probably like the main reason why we're not getting it until 2025. Hell, maybe even 2026, dude. Who freaking knows, man?
Yeah,
But
because
it's
by the time they delay it 6 more times,
yeah.
it might not come out until it might not come out till 2030. We don't know.
Yeah, let's not
I mean,
jinx it. Let's not jinx
look
it. Knock on wood.
look at look at GTA 5, man.
Yeah.
And granted, whenever they released GTA 5, the reason so long is because they actually took time on Red Dead 1. They took time and kept adding updates and content and shit to the online to that.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, we're done with this, like we were with GTA 4. Now we're going to move on to our next game, which guess what? It's going to be a GTA, because that's how we do. We do a Western, then we do a modern, then we do a Western, then a modern. And I think, honestly, that the rumors about it being set in Vice City, I think that's true. And here's why.
Mm-hmm.
We've had 2 games in New York, 4 and 3, and technically Liberty City Stories, but that's not an official like 1, 2, 3. Then we've had 2 in Hollywood, which was San Andreas and 5.
Yeah.
And then we've only had 1 in Miami, Vice City.
Yeah.
So will the second Miami be GTA 6? That's my big theory.
Yeah.
That's my big theory of why I think that could be true.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I didn't know about like the dual settings and games like that. That actually makes a lot of sense. But dude, I guess in a way it's kind of a good thing if you consider, because when did GTA 4 came out in like 2008, and then
oh my god,
GTA 5
long ago.
Yeah, GTA came out. Yeah, I remember because a friend of mine had got it on the 360, and like I remember, I specifically remember when that game came out. And it was a real big deal, but GTA 5 came out in 2013. The first versions. So, I mean, you're already talking about a 5-year span. So, well, yeah. I mean, it's like,
and then Red Dead Redemption came out in 2010.
Yeah, I mean, granted, this game just better be like the best, most immersive Grand Theft Auto game ever. If they're taking this long, like it better blow Cyberpunk. Everything they promised with Cyberpunk better be in this freaking game. If it's gonna take this long, it
better come out in
2013 to 2025, dude. That's 12 years, dude. That's ridiculous. 12, I mean, obviously, I don't think that it's going to take 12 years to, like, it's not going to take 12 years of active development, but, I mean, still, that's a long freaking time.
It took them, like, 7 years to start working on it, and it's actually going to take them about 5 years,
yeah.
being honest. Like, this is going to be the last thing I want to say about GTA, but the one thing that I want them to do in GTA eventually, and this will probably be like a 20-year production game if they do this, but like I want them to take it like how Ubisoft did The Crew, and they made it the entire United States, but just like the major cities from each state. I want them to do GTA like that.
Yeah. Wasn't the travel system like down to scale or whatever? Like, didn't it take you like a certain amount of time to drive to like city to city? I mean, obviously it wouldn't take the actual amount, but like it still took a while to get from city to city or something like that.
My dad played The Crew and The Crew 2.
Are you loving The Crew?
And he said that whenever he was playing it, that he would drive from Maine all the way over to California, and it would take him 2 hours.
Hell no. See, that's what I was talking about. It's like, all right, I guess it's not to scale. Well, yeah, it's kind of to scale or whatever. Yeah, that's cool, but I mean, I don't want to spend the driving better be.
That's why I
awesome.
would think
better be amazing.
That's why I would think like GTA could specifically, because everyone's favorite playground in a GTA is the airport. Just like make us be able to travel between airports. And then
Yeah.
that way you could load the whole new map in. You'd have tons of places to go in and explore and to get away from the toxic online players. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just feel like all the toxic players would be in like California and New York, and then everybody else would be just kind of vibing in the rest of the United States.
Yeah. Who knows, man? It'll definitely be interesting whenever GTA finally releases at the end of time.
Looking
Anyway,
forward to it.
I guess let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is Dying Light 2. They released a new trailer on the 1st of this month, and which is a couple days ago from when we are recording this now. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, dude, this looks really good. I did not even pay attention to Dying Light 1. I didn't really pay attention to Dying Light 2. I know a lot of people are hyped about it, but this is the first time that I really like sat down and watched gameplay, and like I didn't know that it's like there's like all this parkour and stuff.
Yeah, man. So like that's the big thing with Dying Light is in Dying Light 1, they said that your biggest key to your survival is to know how to get out of sticky situations. And like whether you're being surrounded by a horde of zombies or if you've got like, actual humans shooting guns at you, you need to know how to parkour to get away from those people because, zombies can't climb on stuff and the thugs,
At least not right now.
yeah. Well, and that's not true either. The night crawlers in the game can climb on stuff, but like your regular, just like old zombies, they can't climb on the buildings.
Okay, that's good.
And so the other thing about the game, and is what kind of reminded me of Dead Rising, is after nighttime the zombies get stronger, and these night crawlers come out, and they can only be killed if you use a UV light on them, and it burns their skin, and then you have to do damage while you're burning them with that UV light, and that's how you kill them.
Yeah.
They were tanky, and they were scary, and they were hard to fight. And in this new trailer, they showed kind of in this gameplay trailer rather, they showed kind of an advanced version of the Nightcrawler, which is, I guess, going to be the upgrade in this game from it. And dude, it already looks so terrifying. We also saw some new special infected. Like we saw one that was like throwing up that like glow in the dark, luminescent, orange bile.
Yeah, it had like
we
all
saw
like the...
one that had like a really long arm, and it was ripping the flesh and then dropping it into its own mouth and
yeah,
stuff.
it was like slurping that stuff like...
Yeah. The big guy that he passes, he goes right by like a counter, and there's a big huge Hulk looking guy, and he's just like bashing the wall with something.
Yeah.
He is not new. He is from the first game.
Oh,
there are two big boss zombies, and one literally looks like a tank from Left 4 Dead and has all of the attributes as that. He can literally pick a rock up out of the ground and throw it at you, and then he's just a big tanky motherfucker.
Yeah,
and then
I definitely got Left 4 Dead vibes from watching this.
Yeah, and the other one is that zombie that you saw in this trailer.
Okay.
So I'm really hyped for this because in the last one, in this trailer, it shows that he's stealthing around, and in the last one there was stealth, but it wasn't to the extent of how this game is portraying it, because they were all in that dark hospital, and as he got close to it, the zombie would be like,
dude, that was crazy.
Is that a human I smell? And then he backed away, and the zombie was like, oh, I guess not, and he went back to being a depressed zombie again.
Yeah, that was nuts, dude. I did not expect like a stealth element at all. Like I said, I've never seen really any gameplay, so this is like my first introduction, and for first introduction for me, I'm like, oh,
it's a good one.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Like I'm like, bro, like they're running around like literally like Mirror's Edge, like that. I immediately got Mirror's Edge vibes.
Yeah, 100%.
As soon as it started, like just like the way that the run animation looks, it looks lifted straight from Mirror's Edge, and like the slide and like the when you're vaulting over stuff, I was like, wait a minute, like who developed this? Like I had to look it up. I was like, wait, was DICE working on this? But like no, I was like, okay, and then we got stealth. Okay.
I think the people who are developing this Don't quote me on this, and I don't know if this is actually true, but I heard rumors back before I checked credible things that Dying Light was made by the same people, or some of the same people who made uh, Dead Island, and
Dead
that's
Island.
why it's very similar to Dead Island in a lot of ways. The only different core element that was not a thing in Dead Island, and it obviously is in this, but like everything from like being able to craft weapons, craft upgrades for your weapons breaking, finding overpowered weapons that can potentially last you forever, like that's very Dead Island. And I
Hmm.
think that whenever this game came out, Dying Light 1, it was very highly talked about. Um,
Yeah.
but I definitely think that if you plan on getting into Dying Light 2,
Hmm.
then you need to play the first one. The first one is on sale right now on the Steam sale, as we talked about last week.
Hmm.
It is $13.59, and the DLC for it is $5. And then you'd be all caught up on the story for this one because it follows the same main character.
Okay. Well, dude, I mean, if it's yeah, I mean, from if it's like the same as what I saw, like I'm definitely a lot more interested because I'll be
I'm
honest, like
hyped.
I'm really bad about it, but like I kind of like automatically dismiss zombie games just because there's so many.
I
Unless it's
love them.
like Resident Evil. Like
I
Resident
play
Evil, I'm
every
like,
single
heck
one.
yeah. What did you say?
Every
I'm sorry.
I said I love them. I play every single zombie game that comes. I It's just another one of those genres that I love, like Dead games. Really love the Dead Rising, Dead
Yeah,
Island.
dead. Yeah, dead.
um,
Yeah,
I'm
Evil
gonna play.
Dead.
I'm gonna play Back for Blood when it comes out.
Oh yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to play The Day Before when it comes out, which I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like the Division meets Left for Dead, and
Okay,
that's the
okay.
whole thing. Oh, something else that you probably don't know about Dying Light. It is 110% four-player co-op. Um,
Really? I was
you and
actually wondering about that.
I don't know about Dying Light 2, obviously, because they haven't said anything about that yet. But in the first one, you and your buddies could join each other's games at any given time and go through whatever part of the story that your buddy was at.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
also,
liking the sound of that.
they had a versus mode where you could go into the main menu and choose to play a zombie, and you
Uh-huh.
could go and invade random sessions.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Kind of like Dark Souls.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of shitty though because you'd be in the middle of doing a mission, being invaded by the Nightcrawler. He's coming to kill you, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But you could turn that off. So if you didn't want people raiding you and you were like actually trying to get through the story, you could just get through the fucking story.
Okay, yeah. That
Um,
that makes sense.
but
Yeah.
I kind of hope that they put that back in because being the zombie, and they made it to where like you and your friends could play how Left 4 Dead was, where one side would be the zombies and one side would be the survivors.
Mhm.
One person is this really overpowered zombie, and he has different nests around the map
Mhm.
that the players have to destroy, and your whole objective is to kill the survivors, and their whole objective is to get to each nest and kill all of those, and then kill you.
Okay. Oh wow.
Fun game modes though, very very fun.
Okay. Well, yeah, I might definitely have to check it out and once again add it to my endless backlog. And then never
Yeah.
get to it.
Here's
Oh
what'll
man.
happen. I'll get it, and I'll sit there and I'll poke you in the side like I have been about Siege, and I'll get you to play it with me.
Oh yeah.
We'll
Yeah. I
we'll
still
do
got
a
a
run
couple more
through.
days. I actually
You got
bought
five
Star
days.
Wars. Yeah. I actually bought Jedi Knight or Jedi Academy or Jedi Knight 1 and 2.
Oh, you
So,
got both of them.
yeah. Yeah, I've been meaning to get to those, but I'll probably honestly, I really don't know. I mean, I was like they're cheap. I'll get to them when I get to them.
There is a co-op mode on there, so if you want to play those together, we would have to download Hamachi to play together. But I've already got Hamachi, so
Okay. Well, we'll definitely have to get into that. And well, it's good that we've been talking about Star Wars because it fits very nicely into our next segment, which is our anime segment. But something very, very, very hype just happened. Star Wars just announced their, or I guess Disney just showed off their Star Wars Vision's anime anthology series. They just showed a first look today, and dude, let me tell you something, bro. Man, I'm so freaking hyped, dude. This looks so good. Like, and we didn't even see anything.
I
Oh
had
my
questions.
Oh my god,
But
dude.
like, some of them got answered. Like as soon as I saw Boba, I was hyped because mainly that means we're somewhere between episodes 3 to 5, and because he doesn't get, or I mean 6 rather, because he doesn't get his armor back until just recently in the Mandalorian, which is 5 years I think after the Empire fell.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that, and that's 3 seasons in. So let's just say 3 extra years. So he hasn't had his armor since 8 years after episode 6. So this wasn't episode 6 or after episode 6 by far. So I think this is going to be in between episodes 3 to 6. And I'm very excited to see what they do with this. I want to see. Are we going to see Obi-Wan in anime art style? Are we going to see Anakin in anime art style? Are we going to see the Annie-Obi fight in anime art style? Like, or I don't know if I want that, but maybe like some more badass fights that can be animated. Oh my.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm most hyped about is some of the production studios who are working on some of these episodes or some of these entries, I guess. The one that has me the most hype is, and I knew it as soon as they showed like the first bit of concept art, was Trigger. Dude,
Yeah.
Trigger working on a Star Wars episode, dude. Man, I'm sold. I'm so freaking sold, dude. Oh my god.
Well, the way that they listed it at the end of the productions reveal there is that they're going to handle arcs, because there's like an arc called the Nine Jedi. There's an arc called the Tatooine Rhapsody. Stuff like that. And so I think that this is going to be potentially a very, very long first season of this show, because they've got 9 different animation companies and teams working on different parts of this anime for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be really cool to see the different like ways and avenues that each different team takes to animate this. What I hope will be a very beautiful anime.
Yeah, well, I think it's what they're doing. They're doing it like it's an anthology, so they're doing it like, I don't know if you've seen like the Animatrix or the Batman Gotham Knight series.
Yeah.
They're each entry is like its own like self-contained story that's animated differently. So each studio is like telling their own like separate little like Star Wars story. Like it's not, I don't think it's like an overarching story. It's like there's little bits and pieces, so then that way each studio has like the freedom to do like whatever you want.
So it's gonna kind of be how like Clone Wars was, is what you're saying?
Kind of, sort of like Clone Wars. Well, not really, because Clone Wars
a basic story, but like in revelation to some of the episodes, like some of the episodes they were just doing random shit. Like we literally watched just 3 episodes of clones training. Like there was no story behind that. There was definitely character development for the different clones.
Yeah.
But I mean, like there wasn't a story.
Yeah. Well, I think each episode is literally like a one-off.
Okay.
So
well, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So we might be seeing new characters and new, planets and new shit each episode. It might not be the same characters each episode.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. The fact that they got Trigger, which I don't know. Have you seen Kill la Kill?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, phenomenal. So they got
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, production. Dude. Now some of the other ones I'm not that familiar with. Geno Studio, they sound familiar. Let's see. Okay, actually I don't know like anything they've done. But I think it's really cool. I think the coolest thing about this is there's so many different animation styles. So I mean we're gonna see like some crazy. There's the amount of like variety and like animation and like storytelling is gonna be like through the roof, I think. And man, yeah, it's some of the stuff they showed from the concept art has me super super stoked. Like they had one where it was, and you mentioned it earlier. It was like a duel, like a classic samurai. Like he wanted to tell like a samurai story, but like with the Star Wars twist. So you see them like one of the concept art is like with them like with their like they're about to start like a fight, but and they have their lightsabers, but they look like katanas. You know, like they're shaped like katanas, which is like super super tight. They have one of them looks like very kind of like almost like chibi animation, and you know I guess they couldn't help but put like some sort of like furry character with like the bunny girl or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like just the amount of variety and but the one like I'm super psyched for the freaking Trigger one, dude. The Trigger one, I got a feeling that's gonna be like the most crazy. Sick. Yeah, sick. I mean, from what we've seen with Kill la Kill and like the animation and the fights in that, dude. Whoo,
Yeah.
Woo! Bro, I swear, man.
Concept art for some of the fights that they were already putting together, where they were just clashing sabers. I like how it looks already.
Yeah,
like,
man, the concept art looks
the emotion
so
that they're
crazy.
able to draw on their face, man.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
And a lot of your traditional Star Wars fans are probably not going to be okay with them turning lightsabers into katanas.
Man, who the heck cares?
Which,
no, dude, that's freaking. We already have like the dark saber. Dude, there's so many different versions of the lightsaber. I'm pretty sure people will be fine.
What I'm saying is like a lightsaber can be literally anything.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we saw that shit that they did with Kylo's. We saw that shit that they did with Darth Maul.
Hilt. Yeah. Yeah, they're always reinventing the wheel with the lightsaber.
Asajj Ventress, how she literally had a fucking S. And then she could detach that into two curved lightsabers.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Her hilt is badass to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. But dude, yeah, it's like they're taking two of like some of my favorite things, Star Wars and anime, and they're just meshing it together into something that looks. It looks like it's gonna be phenomenal. Dude. I'm very psyched for this. I am so ready. It's gonna be coming out. It's gonna be streaming on the 22nd, and I will be there. I'm gonna be there day one, streaming the heck out of this, man. I'm honestly like a lot more excited about this than like some of like the Marvel stuff.
Oh,
you know,
by far.
But I mean, I'm still pretty geeked for the Marvel stuff. But yeah, I mean, like Star Wars, like anything Star Wars, just inject it straight into my freaking veins, dude. Like that's how I was with the Mandalorian. That was so good. So
that's how I
good.
am too, dude. Like anything Star Wars, you know, keeping up with that shit. I'm all about looking in the lore and interviews behind it and shit like that. Any more facts or anything that I could find on Star Wars and that one specific thing that just came out about Star Wars, I get deep into it.
Yeah, definitely. And it also makes another great segue into our movie segment, because once again we're going to be talking about Star Wars, but this time we're going to be talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which is coming out I think later on this year as well. I want to say, I know they just started filming, but the rumor is that Obi-Wan Kenobi will be facing an Inquisitor with an epic lightsaber battle, which, if it's anything like his battle with Darth Maul and the Phantom Menace, dude, if any of the fights are as good as that fight, I'm sold. Like, I'll be a happy man, because that fight is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best display of lightsaber combat in the entire Star Wars series, by far, in my opinion. That, like, gosh, like, if we could get something like that with this Inquisitor fight, oh my god, my head is gonna explode again.
Man, I can't wait to see the Inquisitor lightsaber live action. That's going to be so dope.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and honestly, this is something I've been theorizing since they announced the Obi-Wan show. Is, I knew this was going to take place after Revenge of the Sith, and not short after Revenge of the Sith, you have Star Wars Rebels, and there's already Inquisitors in full effect in that show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like I'm saying, Vader could send some Inquisitors to fight Obi-Wan, or just to find him. He goes through like two of them, and then by the end of the show, we get that Ewan McGregor Hayden Christensen fight that already been promised. And
Yeah.
so I can absolutely not wait to see what they do with this, man. Like, I'm so hyped for it because
I'm pumped.
is by far, I mean, as you can tell by all of my gaming accounts and my social media accounts and stuff, it's Daddy One Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite fucking Jedi by far. It's got to be him or Qui-Gon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are just both my favorite Jedi. And I've been watching a lot of and I know this is off topic a little, watching a synopsis on the animation of Obi-Wan in Rebels,
Mm-hmm.
that final time versus Darth Maul, and how he starts off with his lightsaber stand that he uses in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Then he switches to Qui-Gon's stand.
Yeah.
And then finally Ben Kenobi's stand, right?
Yeah.
And Darth Maul thinks, oh, you fight like Qui-Gon, I know exactly how I killed him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kill you too the exact same way. And Obi-Wan studied that and knew how to counter that, and literally just slashed right through it and killed his ass right there. Like, dude, bruh.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is my guy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, definitely. I'm very, very hyped for this. Especially after watching The Mandalorian. If the story and like the lore and everything that they add is anything like The Mandalorian, yeah, dude, oh my god, I'm so down. Like, I am a believer in Disney now after The Mandalorian, and I'm really hoping that Obi-Wan is like brings that same level of just like Star Wars respect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
Well, now that they've gotten rid of Kathleen Kennedy, maybe
what? You cut out.
Man, I hate my internet. I was saying, now that they've gotten rid of Kathleen Kennedy,
yeah,
maybe we'll get a little bit more Star Wars respect from Disney.
I think they've learned their lesson, and people are definitely clamoring for more Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni stuff.
Yeah, man.
They single-handedly saved Star Wars.
I was just about to say, their backs must be hurt. They better be checking into a fucking hospital and getting extreme bed rest for the next like 6 years, because they have carried Star Wars on their back for the last couple of years.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely hyped for Obi-Wan. Let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. Sorry, we just nerded out on like Star Wars for like 2 topics straight. But let's go ahead and move on to our next topic in the movie/TV segment, which is the new Mortal Kombat animated movie trailer, which is coming out. When is this coming out?
I think they said in the trailer it's already out on digital.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Looks super good. I watched the first one and it was really good. These seem to be a series of films that they're going to do. They're called Mortal Kombat Legends, and it's just, anime style Mortal Kombat. It's badass.
Yeah.
I've got to say, in this new trailer, they show off a character that we've seen before. His name is Stryker, and he was in Mortal Kombat 9, and that dude dies so brutally. And I just know my man's gonna die because he wasn't in Mortal Kombat for minutes and gets done.
Oh, dang. Yeah. The animation looks pretty good, and isn't this like the second one they've done?
Yes, this is the second one.
Yeah. Now it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool, and the fight scenes look pretty tight.
Yeah. The first one is on HBO Max. If you haven't seen it, I recommend. It's really good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Okay. Yeah.
And it also it's good to like watch these and be able to compare this to what the live action show that they just came out with.
Yeah. Or you mean the movie?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Did I
Yeah.
say
I
show?
actually haven't seen the movie
Okay.
yet. I really need
It's
to
really
like.
good.
Yeah.
I
I
thought
heard a lot
that
of cool
because
things.
I
A lot
was
of good
going
things.
into it with the 1980s Mortal Kombat movies, thinking that it was going to be cringy and awful, and it had its cringy moments, or it's
Of
kind of
course.
like,
Of course.
kind of like, oh man, did y'all really have to say that?
Yeah.
Had that in there, but like overall, it was visually pleasing. The acting was good. It wasn't like terrible. The CGI was really good. So Raiden looked cool. Sub Zero and Squirt cool. Like it, great movie. Great
Yeah.
movie.
All right. Well, I'll definitely have to check that out, and maybe this at some point.
But yeah,
Uh,
man. So another thing I was wanting to talk about this week, that is another show coming out for HBO, is Last of Us. Is starting to film their HBO show.
yes.
They
Yes.
have chosen Pedro Pascal from the Mandalorian
Yeah.
to
And the newest Wonder Woman movie.
and the newest Wonder Woman movie. And so yeah, I think that's going to be a good cast for Joel though. And I think this Gabriel Luna, I think
I like that dude. I like
I
that. He's
think that he's related to the dude, the Luna that was in Rogue One as well, speaking of which. He because the dude, his name is Diego Luna
hmm
and he plays Cassian, right?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
when these guys they look very similar to me, so I think they might be related, but
Okay, okay.
but it could not be, and I could just be stupid.
No, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, they chose those two. I think who Gabriel is going to be. I think he's going to play Joel's brother Tommy.
Okay, was his brother a big part in the game?
In yes, yeah. I was so like the way that it happens is you're together with Joel and Tommy and Joel's daughter. When I mean not the pandemic, the zombie apocalypse starts.
That's right. I'm remembering now. Yeah, I do remember
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah.
and then you don't see him again until later in the game. And you what happened to them, but apparently he joined the Fireflies, and because of that, he and Joel had a huge falling out, and then he had a huge
Okay,
falling out with the Fireflies and just went and moved into a dam.
okay, okay. Huh.
They just had a whole civilization um, kind of built around that dam because
Oh yeah.
that's where they were getting their power and stuff.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
like that was kind of cool. And he's a huge part of Last of Us too.
Okay. Cool. Hey, I mean, yeah, I think Pedro Pascal is a pretty good choice for Joel. Again, I not super big into The Last of Us. I tried playing the first one, but a friend of mine was kind of backseating me, so didn't really have the best
Yeah,
experience. Maybe I'll have to go back and play the remastered and the second one because I know that actually got a new next gen patch. So, although I will say, like from what I've seen from the second one, like it's a little bit too like graphic, but not in like a because Mortal Kombat like it's like over the top, right? It's like silly, people are getting like their freaking heads chopped off and like their spines ripped out, but it's not realistic. But like in The Last of Us, the violence is very like realistic, like it like to the point where it's like ooh, like that's like pretty hard to watch.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So like that's the only thing where I'm like, I might skip. I might skip out on this one, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I've probably played worse stuff, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think this will definitely be a pretty good series if they do it right, and if they retcon a lot of the stuff from Last of Us Part Two.
Man,
um,
they're rebooting the series, and I think it's because of the backlash that they got on Last of Us 2.
yeah. I mean, some people really liked what they did, to be honest. I mean, I don't have like any input on it, but yeah, it was either you really loved it or you really hated it, and but either way, people are talking about it.
Yeah, I was one of those people that was in between that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I loved the game and it was very beautiful and it was a fun playthrough,
Mm-hmm.
but I absolutely hated how it ended. I hated
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. I heard the ending was not
I think that
great.
if they would have taken the game and they would have ended it like an hour earlier than they did, then I would have
Yeah,
been fine with it. I
yeah,
would have been completely fine. But yeah, that's about all I've got to say about that is that they could have done better, but I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like, oh, death to the creators of this game and death
yeah.
to
That was
the Naughty
silly,
Dog
dude.
Studios.
That
Like,
was
come
so
on, you
dumb.
guys.
Yeah,
Like, can we
it's a
just grow up
game,
as a
dude.
civilization a little bit? Like, come on.
Yeah,
It's a video game.
yeah. Don't
Shut
be
up.
sending like death threats. Like that's where I'm like, okay, dude. Like, are
Do you
you
really
freaking
think that you're
serious?
that important? Do you think that your interests are that important? Because I can promise you they're not.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Like, sorry that he made a fluke. Let's just forgive him and hope he makes a better one.
Yeah,
Okay?
move on,
Hey,
move on. Yeah,
forgive and forget. That's what a lot of people need to learn how to do these days.
yeah, most definitely.
Speaking of some current social problems and and people uh, just absolutely losing their minds. The one thing I wanted to talk about, and that means a lot to me and is big in pop culture right now, is Bo Burnham's Inside. We watched it together, specifically so we could talk about it on here. Um, I loved this special. I think that Bo Burnham hit everything that he did in this special, everything he took the nail and he hit it right on the head with
Mm-hmm.
everything. With the beginning songs,
How the world
he
works.
yeah,
Yeah.
he sees the sock puppet starts talking about the upper class and the corporate elite. And once he starts ragging on them, he gets silenced. And then basically, Bo Burnham threatens to take him off of his hand, which would in turn kill him, you know. And so basically, it's either you stop talking about stuff that makes everyone uncomfortable and makes us look bad. Yeah, stop talking about that, or I'm going. And that's kind of like a big thing that is in the media always, is how people can't talk about certain upper class groups or corporate elite groups because they're always silenced.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, he points out to a lot of that, and how America was pretty much built on that, and that they've lied to us about the history of America. That, you know, they make it seem like this big fairy tale story, but our nation was actually built on blood, genocide, and exploitation. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, he calls out a lot of racism and classist problems, and it's just, I think that that's a really good part of that, and he hits it on the head. So even moving on down into the special, he does a song called White Woman's Instagram, and he hits every pose that he does. Like, it's perfect. Like, I've seen so many people on TikTok and even Instagram and Facebook talking about how he like really called them out during that song, because and they would do side by sides of his pose with what they did, and some of it is uncanny, dude. Like,
Yeah.
how spot on he was with that. I think that he also talks about a lot of important issues in that, like I was talking to you about, when he's talking about wanting that he's inside all the time and he wants to get out, but at the end of the day, he goes right back inside because the only reason he ever left his house was for a reason to go back inside.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit, but I relate because of after the pandemic started, it was hard to get a hold of Lexapro, which is my depression medications. And whenever I wasn't taking those, especially during the pandemic, not being able to go anywhere, see some of my friends, or just some of my friends strictly not wanting to hang out because of the pandemic, and rightfully so, and understandably so, but it took its toll on me. And I got seriously depressed, and it got to a point where my wife was wanting me to go out and do things with her, and I would literally go out and do like one little thing just so I could have a reason to be like, okay, I did this. Now I'm gonna go home and hermit again.
Yeah, it was almost, it was like just checking something off the checklist at that point. You didn't really want to
Yeah,
do it. It's just like, okay, well that's my out for the day.
I
All right,
had
here you
it.
go. Yeah.
I had no, or it wasn't even for the day, dog. So deep into my own hole right there that that was like my outing for the week. I did
Yeah.
not, I didn't like leaving my house, and it's taken me some time to get back out of those habits, and I feel so badly, um, because my friends and stuff, after the regulations and restrictions were lifted in Alabama, they wanted to just do all of the things. They
Yeah.
wanted to go out and stuff, and I was still in that depression mode, and I didn't want to do. And so, not wanting to do anything while other people are wanting to do everything just doesn't mix well. And so, I really related to some of his deeper parts about mental health problems during the pandemic and stuff. And then the final thing, for me, uh, that I loved about this special were the last three songs that he
Mhm.
does, which is That Funny Feeling, All Eyes on Me, and Goodbye.
Mhm.
And what I really love That Funny Feeling because it's like a really deep um, tone over that song, where he's singing about couple of things that are like in one part he says that there's a gift shop at the gun range and a mass shooting at the mall, and that really hits. And there's another part where he says total disassociation, fully out of your mind. And I don't know if you know what disassociation is, but
I know, I am very familiar with that, unfortunately.
for those of you that don't know what that is, basically you're just feeling like a disconnection to everything around you. That you're just kind of sitting and existing, but you're not really there. Like you're there, but you're not there.
Yeah,
You know?
you're pretty much, it's almost like being an observer, and like
Yep.
somebody might talk to you and you'll talk to him, but you're not really talking to him. It's like you're so out of it, you're so.
That you just really don't give a shit about the conversation. That's essentially what it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, I went through something pretty traumatic like that called de um derealization,
I was just about to bring that up too, because that's
where
the next line.
yeah, where you like I there was a point in my life I went through something pretty traumatic for me, emotionally, and I didn't really I didn't take care of it the way that I should have. Like I went through it, and instead of like dealing with it and like, grieving properly, and like being in touch with my feelings, I just ignored it. I was like, whatever, like
Yeah.
I don't want to feel sad, I don't want to feel bad or whatever. And I got into like some pretty I didn't have like good habits, and like I said, I wasn't like taking care of it. So it got to a point where like I mentally didn't want to deal with it, and I got to a point where I was so like far removed from it, like I didn't want to deal with it so much. It was so traumatic. It just got to a point where I started kind of like becoming a observer. It's like the best way I can describe it is it's like you're in a video game, right? So you wake up and it feels like you're in the body of another person, and you're just like like I felt like I was walking around in Daniel Lewis's body and like living life through him, but I didn't feel like him. Like what really like got me was like there would be times where I would look in the mirror and I would be like, who the heck is that guy? Like I was
Yeah.
so far removed from myself that like literally I felt like I was playing a video game. Like I was just sitting there like watching this cutscene, right? and like people would talk to me, but I didn't feel like myself. I didn't. It's the most uncomfortable feeling I've ever had. Like I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it's I've read up on it, and it's like a defense. It's like your psyche's kind of way of like defending itself from like trauma, where instead of dealing with it like remove like your mind removes you from yourself to protect you from feeling bad from the trauma. Like it's weird, dude, but yeah, like yeah, whenever he said, when he was talking about looking at derealization and like not liking what he found.
Yeah,
um
yeah, that's what I was about to bring
yeah,
up to you.
yeah,
Is that line hits too, because he starts off with that total disassociation, fully out of your mind, googling derealization and hating what you find.
yeah, yeah,
And like that line hits really hard because like I didn't go through anything traumatic say per se, but
yeah.
like my mental health just declined so steadily over the course of the last like year or two that by the time the pandemic started, I was already a little like starting to like fall into that depression a little bit,
Hmm.
and I just fell even worse during the pandemic. And I understand that disassociation feeling, and I guess derealization, feeling like your surroundings aren't real.
You just feel like you're not yourself. Like it feels like it felt like I was like a little mini person sitting inside like the head
Yeah,
of somebody else.
like you're working the robot that's walking around.
Yeah, and
Right.
like literally looking through the eyes of somebody else. Like I said, like the weirdest feeling was like looking at like waking up in the morning, looking at my hands, and I felt like I was playing a first person shooter, dude.
I
Straight up,
think I
like
remember
it was
you.
freaky, dude.
I think I remember what that time period as well.
Yeah,
Um,
now it
I
wasn't.
think we had a lot of in-depth conversations about that.
Yeah. Now, I guess let me clarify. I said traumatic. It wasn't really that traumatic, to be honest. Well, I guess everybody's troubles
Trauma
and
is
trouble.
different to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So something that might not seem significant to you might be very
Yeah,
significant to somebody else. So everybody's trials and tribulations and feelings are valid. But I pretty much got my heart broken, right?
yeah,
And instead of like being sad about it, like you got to go through that period of being sad. I was just like, yeah, screw it. I just did a bunch of other stuff, that wasn't really healthy to like avoid it.
yeah.
And because of that, like I paid the price for it pretty much.
Right.
Where my psyche was pretty much like, okay, well, if you want to avoid it, we'll make you avoid it entirely and not make you feel like yourself. And like since you don't want to deal with this, like we'll help you out, but to a degree that like I just didn't feel like myself. And yeah, it's yeah, one of the most like derealization in of itself was for me traumatic. Like the
Yeah, man.
what got me to that
I
point
never want
wasn't.
to feel like that again.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and this is a couple years ago for me. Like I did have like a couple of moments last year that were pretty rough because of the pandemic, but this what I'm talking about was something that happened to me a couple of years ago. But I think this special was very eye opening, and it was very. Now, granted, like I wouldn't wish anyone to be like that, like down and like sad and depressed. But I think it was very cathartic to see someone so vulnerable, and be like
Yeah.
cool with just being like that's admirable, not because a lot of people they don't like to show themselves when they're not down or when they're not in a good place, and they only want to show the good stuff. And I think we have kind of gotten to a point where it's you know we kind of shun or we shun the moments when we're not feeling okay, but it's okay to not be okay.
And like the craziest thing about him doing that is he was having such mental anxiety problems about performing on stage when he was well.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
you see in this special, there's parts where he's like really judging himself, and he's like, no, that's the right thing to say. And he like gets so frustrated that he storms out of the room, knocking everything in his path over. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when he finally looks into the camera, admits that he's not well, begins to cry, making the audience feel uncomfortable because nobody wants to see that. But he's representing what he went through
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like how this pandemic was for him in the state of California.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just a super sad thing for someone who has watched him since his YouTube days, followed him through Vine and the 3 Netflix specials, and I just legitimately, when he announced his retirement on Make Happy, I
Mm-hmm.
was sad and I didn't want it to happen. However, having a genuine love for the person and the art that he produced, I wanted him to get better mentally,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was really hoping throughout this whole like special that he wasn't driving himself back to that place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he, you know, after he cries on camera, he does the All Eyes on Me song, which is arguably the best songs in the special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very like it shows his vocal range a lot
Mm-hmm.
and shows his skills with editing his vocals over on top of each other and himself, and that part of the song is just really beautiful. And I really like how he does that, and the story that he tells during that song is something that hits real hard too, when he's talking about, you know, that he stopped doing comedy 5 years prior to him working on the special, and that, you know, it was because he was having severe panic attacks on stage. And he says, you know, so I got my mental health better, and so much better that in January of 2020, I thought I wanted to start touring and doing comedy live. You know, I've been hiding from the world so long, I need to re-enter. And then he says, and then the funniest thing happened. And he never says it, but we all know that it was the shutdown to the pandemic, because I mean, like, that's what we were all living through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that moment in that song just hit so heavy for someone who enjoyed his art and enjoyed his comedy and his different, you know, his little quirkiness, right? And it's just it was really sad to hear that the first time I watched the special. It
Mm-hmm.
was that was really sad to hear that, like, this year he was going to go, or last year rather, he a new comedy special, but then the world says, nah, we're shutting down and you're forced to stay inside now, so sorry.
Yeah. The pandemic really changed a lot, I think, with how, first of all, how important like mental health is.
Yeah.
And I think it really showed us as like a society that, you know, we're not, I think we have like a lot to learn in terms of like dealing with, you know, like being alone, dealing with, you know, our own like mentality and like taking care of ourselves and stuff like that. Like, it's definitely showed us. I feel that I guess it's reminded us the need for like social interaction and just, you know, like, you know, taking care of yourself, like um trying to get out when you can, you know, like, and definitely, you know, just the importance of like mental, like, I think the pandemic has definitely put mental health back into the spotlight. And, you know, stuff like this special really showed again like how important it is. And you know, it also like opened up a lot of deep questions about social media and its effects. And I
Yeah.
definitely think like the fact that we're inside for so long and we're just constantly, you know, everybody who had like some sort of YouTube channel or some sort of like show or anything like that had, you know, so many, had an increase of viewers by, you know, by a large margin, just because everybody was inside and stuff. And I definitely think that that has had an effect on us in some significant way. I think it'll be to like what extent it's had an effect on us. I don't know if we'll figure that out until like a couple of years, but I definitely do think that being inside and like the increase of just being on the internet while being cooped up inside has definitely like had an effect on us. Like I said.
Yeah. And like the things with that, with the Welcome to the Internet song,
Yeah, yeah, dude. That
the,
was that was
the
yeah. Just the internet in general. Like I think
yeah,
it's that definitely like opened up my. It just really makes you think about like the effect that the internet as a whole like has on us.
the, man,
Has on everybody. And I think it's important to separate yourself from it. Every once in a
yeah,
while because it can be.
mentally draining.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And if you're not careful, I mean, you can get into like some crazy stuff, you know, um, if you're not careful, and
Yeah.
you just, yeah, I definitely think
The
it's
line in
it's
that
important
song,
to limit yourself from it.
yeah, the line in that song where he says, "Can I interest you in everything all of the time?"
Yeah,
That that struck a chord with me. And I don't really know why I hyperfixated on that phrase, but like I that is so true with the internet. Like literally anything that your mind can think of, it is probably on the internet.
yeah,
And like
yeah,
I think that that might be harmful to some
yeah,
people.
yeah. I
Like
definitely feel we're overstimulated, like as
yeah,
a society, especially now. I mean, even compared to like 10 years ago, I mean, we were pretty much just scratching the surface because that's when like Facebook was like really becoming a thing.
yeah.
Twitter was like the big
And now we
three.
have 8 different social medias, one of which is just purely made to send pictures back and forth for 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah. All of the
And
different apps, and it's just crazy the amount that we're exposed to. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think it makes sense that like people are kind of like going crazy just because of like it's like everything. It's like from the minute you wake up, what do? You look at your phone.
start looking at your
And
phone.
I mean from the minute you look at that, you're in pretty much.
Yep.
And it's just
You
like a
start watching them
stream of
TikToks.
information like all the time. Like you said, every can I interest you in everything all the time, and it literally is just like everything. And I think that that's most definitely had an effect on us. And yeah, I think that I don't know if we, and this is getting kind of deep, I guess, but like I don't know if we like as a species were meant to absorb this amount of information like this fast. I mean, over time, obviously, like we'll adapt to it, but yeah,
It's a lot. It's a
yeah,
lot
it's a
for
lot.
us as a species, and arguably in a generation of slowly mentally health declining humans in this generation. Maybe that's not as good for us, and maybe all this time we thought social media was such a good thing, and like I said, I to you yesterday, like I was one of the kids that defended social media all the time, but after really sitting down and thinking about it, a lot of my mental health issues probably originate from social media, because
Yeah,
like everybody's always the perfect form of themselves on social media.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if you're comparing yourself while being depressed to everybody's perfect self on social media, then it makes you feel like you're a piece of shit, right? And that you're not doing enough. But in all actuality, what these people are doing is posting stuff for face value,
yeah.
right?
They're only showing you what they want you to see, really.
Exactly. And but like
Well, you never know what somebody's going through outside of
exactly. And
the
so like
Facebook
I
posts
see
and the pictures and all of that stuff. Like you never know, and I think you always have to keep that in the back of your mind when you look at somebody's pictures or anything like that. You always, I mean, everybody's human. Everybody
yeah,
goes through stuff, and like not everybody is happy go lucky all the time. Even if they post stuff that's happy go lucky all the time, it doesn't mean
right.
that they're truly happy.
Right, right. And that was my biggest thing with I did exactly that. I would look at a perfect version of someone through their social media,
Mm-hmm.
and I would compare my life, and I would be like, okay, I'm not doing as much as that person, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as successful as that person. I graduated high school with this person, and they're already out of, and I'm still in it. Like, and I compared myself to people like that, and that caused a lot of mental health issues in me. And then just the political side of social media, especially in
Mm-hmm.
2020, because everybody was talking about the election and then the
Mm-hmm.
controversy with the election,
Mm,
and
yeah.
and
I was
that
pretty
was
much
why
non-existent from social
and
media
that
at
was
that point.
why, like, during that time of the special, when Bo Burnham says, can any one single person shut the fuck up about anything, any singular topic, for like an hour? Because when that came out, literally everybody that had a social had to weigh their opinion on
Mm-hmm.
it.
Except me.
And yeah.
I
But
stay out of that.
some of us normal people stayed away from it.
I stay the heck away from that. I ain't trying to mess with it. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, I ain't
man.
trying to make no enemies. I
I,
ain't trying to have no arguments. Y'all can keep that if y'all want to stay. Now, I was like, I thought it was funny, like, whenever, I think it was like the week of the election, just like watching all the memes with like, the counting the
yeah.
balance. That was pretty funny.
The memes were pretty great from that,
Yeah.
but like, man, I'll tell you, this past presidential election made me really scared for our country. It made me really scared, not necessarily because of the result,
Mm-hmm.
but how the whole thing was conducted.
Yeah.
It
I
was very, it was like we had two children. You stupid. Like, and it was like, this is who we're choosing between to run the fucking country. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. But anyways, I don't want to talk about it too much on here.
Yeah,
I
I
don't want to
feel
get
that.
into
I
that.
feel that. I feel
But the last song that on the special I want to talk about is "Goodbye," and I really love this song because he does something that a lot of composers will do in composition music, where they take the beginning of their score and they wrap it around to the end of their performance, right? And
yeah.
they'll tie several songs from the entire concert into that final song, and it's like, oh, yo, they're playing this along with the ending song, and Bo Burnham does that in Goodbye,
Yeah. What is
where
that? I'm
he
trying to think of that term, dude. It's driving me crazy.
I don't know what the term is, but I just know that that's used a lot in like compositional music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they
Musicals and
yeah, and I loved it. I really enjoy um what he did with that song. It left it open, like at the end of Make Happy, he did that ending song,
mm-hmm.
and it was okay, yeah, he's definitely retiring. At the end of this song, I felt like he was going to, like, he was enjoying himself again, because
Yeah.
he was in the special, he was dancing and he was vibing to his own music, and it was the first time that I've seen Bo Burnham look unrehearsed and just like he's just having fun doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, as someone who's watched Bo Burnham from the beginning, his songs have improved immaculately. Like, I went back and watched some of his other comedy specials, and don't get me wrong, the songs from those still hold up and they're funny, but like the songs from Inside compared to like then are so much more pretty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's gotten very melodical, and he's learned a little bit more music theory maybe, and like
Hmm.
his songs in this special, just they top anything that he's done before. He released an album, like, on iTunes and Spotify and stuff, um, of the songs from the comedy special, and I can name you at least 10 people I know for a fact listen to it in their car every day since we've watched it,
Yeah.
and I'm one of them. I love the songs from this special. They all are just really pretty songs.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely, man. Yeah. It was like I said. It's not something I didn't actually know it was like a musical special. And I
Yeah,
like I'm not like opposed to like musicals or whatever, but it was definitely like different, but I don't think it was different in like a bad way. It was definitely, it was a is a very like interesting way of like talking about those issues. But I think it's cool that he did it in that way because it shows like there's like multiple ways of like talking about stuff like that. You like it doesn't have to be like some super serious documentary or whatever. Like you can make it fun, you can make it vulnerable like I was saying before, and you can tackle a lot of really touchy subjects in a
Like more
way.
serious and socio-political topics. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can do it in a way is that has like nuance and stuff. You know what I mean? And
Right.
there's definitely a lot of nuance. There was a lot of stuff where I was like, oh wow, you know, it's just
Yeah.
like he says it and you're like, you know, you're like, oh, and but he'll say it with like a like a funny face or with a smile, but it's like, nah, this, oh yeah, damn, that's, oh dang, oh
That's just the comedian in him, man.
yeah,
Like they're all trained to have that smile on, even though most of them are actually depressed. I mean, look at Robin Williams.
yeah. I
That
mean,
was
it's
a
not.
whole sad situation, man. He put his content out there for however many years he was an actor, and in each of his movies, he looks like he's having the best time of his life. And anytime you saw him in public, he was, real glowy in the face, super happy, but he was actually hurting on the inside. And then, obviously, we all know he ended up eventually killing himself, and that was a super sad thing. And so that's why I think that's why I understand a little bit more of Bo Burnham's depression and stuff, is because we saw this same thing in Robin Williams, and like that scene in the special where he pretends he's the streamer and he's
Oh
playing the
yeah,
video game of
yeah,
himself, and it's a day of him filming inside, and all his character does is wake up, cry, stand up, cry, mess with lights, try to get out of that room but can't, plays his piano, and then cries two more times, and then it says his day is complete.
mm-hmm.
And so like with that point of that bit, that's very sad to me because he is driving himself crazy perfecting this special. He is also sitting there and he is going through mental breakdowns and he's going through the depression, and just the toll of the pandemic and all that is like falling down on top of him, and he can't do anything about it except just cry 4 times a day.
Yeah,
And then he plays his piano and messes with his lights for the special, and that's his whole day.
yeah,
However, then he takes it and he makes it funny by adding that little comment in. He's like, it kind of gives me Death Stranding vibes because it's fucking boring, but that's the point.
yeah.
And and I think that's
Hey
such a
man,
funny. I think that's such a funny line because I played Death Stranding, and whenever it was just a whole bunch of walking, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
see, I actually, I can understand where people are coming from, but I actually really like that game. I'll
Well,
admit, like I got something. For me, it was very. I guess maybe it's because I was like working so freaking hard around the time I actually played it. I was like, man, I'm actually like I'm playing a game where somebody's working harder than I am. This is kind of like refreshing. It
well,
was just like it was like a really chill game, and there's,
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
like honestly, that game,
That
honestly, like
overall vibe was just chill. Like the environment it was in, the world that it was in was very chill, and that is the only redeeming factor for me about that game, is that like it's just one of those things that like when you're not really feeling anything, you just play that.
yeah, yeah, but that was a discussion for another time.
Yeah,
I could
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about Death Stranding all day, but should have won Game of the Year. But anyway,
Okay, bud. Okay.
anyway, this has been
Uh,
a pretty good discussion. Overall, pretty good podcast. We actually managed to hit everything that we put for the
yeah,
most part. We had to cut a couple stuff beforehand, but for the most part, we actually stayed on topic.
yeah. We'll have
um,
some more Star Wars stuff for you guys next week. We
most
just figured
definitely.
that there was a little too much in there this week, and so we saved one extra topic for next week.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, if you haven't seen Inside, I highly recommend it. Um, It's on Netflix. It's like an hour and a half long. It's not very long at all, but bring some tissues because it hits you in the feels. It hits you in the
Yeah,
feels.
most definitely. And it's gonna make you think. It's
Yeah,
gonna make you question
it's one
a
of
lot of things.
the comedy specials that will stick with you for at least a week.
Yeah, yeah.
You,
I was when I woke up, I was thinking about it,
you're gonna
and
carry that weight for a while.
yeah. But I think it's a good way. It's something I think you
It's something
should.
good to have on your mind because it's made me completely rethink some aspects of my life.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of the things he talks about, you should ponder and think about, especially when it comes down to like the internet and social media and just the effects of, uh, just mental health and
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Always staying on top of that and checking on your friends.
yeah, always, always. So yeah, I do think it's good to ponder those things and this definitely brought those things to light. I want to say, but yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's been a wonderful episode.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been-
This is a pretty good episode, man. I'm glad that we kept it nice and tight.
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, we made it work. We made it work. All right. Well, that wraps up our second episode of Hi-Qel's Pop Talk. I am once again your host, Daniel,
And I am your co-host, Alan.
and we will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again for listening in.
Bye bye.
Bye.